Hello and welcome back to Work in Progress of Nicole Engelmann. This is the second part of my conversation with Sally Brockway, a PR specialist and PR coach as well. And now we're talking more about the practical bits about PR. Sally, can you quickly explain what PR actually is?
So PR, which is an old-fashioned term, it's public relations. It's about building your reputation publicly. It's really about visibility. And just take the media. There are two ways of getting in the media. One, you can pay for an advert, and that's called advertising and marketing. Two, you can get the media to talk about you and your business for free. That's earned media coverage. So that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about getting yourself in newspapers, magazines, podcasts, whatever, without having to pay for it. So it's a bit like, I'm stealing this example because I saw it on LinkedIn and I really liked it. So rather than saying I sell lemonade, buy it's delicious, what you do is you say, rather than saying I sell lemonade, it's delicious, you say I sell lemonade using my grandmother's message that's been handed down for generations. So you start to tell a story. You start to build interest in your brand. It's not just I'm selling this is what it is. It's building a story around it.
So you're taking someone on a journey and they get
Yeah.
invested in it, yeah. Okay. I'm assuming because obviously PR is free, it's probably more time consuming.
It really depends because not all PR campaigns are equal. I say to people, and I stand by this, that if you spend 15 minutes a day on your PR, you can get results. Now, everybody's got 15 minutes. If you watch a few less cat videos on Instagram, don't watch Netflix in the evening. Do you know what I mean? Don't play Candy Crush Saga, which I've recently got addicted to. Bad. We can all find 15 minutes. So that is how long it takes, 15 minutes a day. And it's about the consistency. It's much better. It's a bit like gardening. It's much better to do little and often than to do none and then suddenly do one 8-hour shift and sort of go off the idea because it's such hard work.
Yeah, you got me there with the Candy Crush. So how would one go about getting media coverage then?
It really depends what you do because it is different for all businesses. So I always say to people, if you want to do the easiest thing there is, which is the quickest and the easiest way to get PR coverage, which every single PR agency does, and it's using the hashtag journo request. Now you'll find that on X and you'll find it on Blue Sky, mainly X, but journalists are migrating to Blue Sky. Sometimes you find it on Instagram. And a journalist will use that hashtag when they're writing an article and they want some expert comment. So I think I shared one with you where somebody wanted to speak to a photographer. You might be a brand designer and one might say, what are the 5, biggest mistakes people make when they design? So a journalist is writing about anything. It could be health, it could be business, whatever, it can be property, and they want to speak to an expert. So they go onto X or Twitter and they go, I'm writing an article about this. I want to speak to an expert, and they'll say, DM me. So you send them a DM on the platform, or here's my email address. Now, that is gold, an email address for a journalist. Even if the journalist request is not relevant to you, write that email address down, because the toughest thing about PR is getting hold of the journalist contact details if you're not paying for a media database. You can pay for a media database, and I think they've gone down to about £100 a month now, but you're going to be paying. So X, I know it's toxic and it's full of hatred and divisiveness, but it's also littered with journalist contact details. So any small business owner should be on there looking in hashtag journo request, looking at the requests. If you see a request, you think, oh, I'm a gardener and this person's just said, what are the 6 tips for, getting your garden ready for the winter? And then you respond. So you take the email address and you go, hi, so I've seen your request on X. I'm a gardener. And you're not going to waffle on forever. You're going to be very succinct. You're going to say, I see you want to talk about, 5 ways to overwinter your garden. Here's a few of my suggestions, which I'd put in bullet points because you want to keep it short and sweet. And then you say, I'm available. Here's my phone number, because you need to be available. If you give a journalist your phone number and they phone you, you don't answer, it's over. So some people just say, I can't talk to the Daily Mail until next Friday. It's too late. Then they won't. So you've got to be available. And you also need to send them a picture of yourself, a high-res picture taken by a professional photographer, not yourself or anybody else, on your phone, but a proper photograph by a proper photographer, and you send that in the form of a link. You do not send it in the body of an email, because that could clog the inbox up and the journalist will be weeping into their laptop for the rest of the day and they won't speak to you again. So you send your picture on a link, and that is something you can check in daily. I say to clients, go onto X every day in the morning at the same time, type in hashtag journal request and see what there is. Most people give up. They stop doing it after 5 days or a week.
Yeah.
If you're the sort of person that thinks you're going to give up and you've got £30 to spare each month, there is an app called Source, which is source with an extra E on the end. And if you use WOW PR20, you can get 20% off the first month. But what that app does, and I've used this, is it actually sends the journal requests to your inbox when they come in. So, for example, you would put photographer, branding, podcast, all the words that are relevant to you. And then as soon as someone's going, I need to speak to a photographer, you've got the email in your inbox and you can respond instantly. That, I think, is worth the 30 quid if you're serious about doing your PR, because it will save you trawling through X every day and getting bored. At least then you're just getting the email, you know it's relevant, and then you can dash it off. And people say, yeah, but that's 30 quid. People have no idea how expensive PR agencies are. I mean, nowadays, I work for agencies and they're not going to take anyone on for less than £6,000 a month. And £6,000 a month is a really small campaign. You know, I work for quite small agencies, and I mean, we're talking 20, 30 grand a month. That's what brands are paying. So when I'm saying to you, you can pay £30 and you're going to get those journalist requests in your inbox in real time, that is a bargain.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I guess as well, like I'm guilty of that as well. I haven't checked X for a while. I do it once in a while, but I don't do it daily anymore. I'm just sometimes too busy and I can't, sometimes I've checked and then there was nothing on and it's like, oh yeah, and then you forget about it. It's just like out of mind, out of, out of sight, out of mind. But that's a really good idea to get those notifications. How would you go about if you want to pitch something that's not based on a journal request, like if you have a story to tell?
So first of all, you need to make sure that you really have got a story to tell. And one of the biggest mistakes people make is they're trying to sell their story. And what I say is, you're telling it, you're not selling it. So, no one's interested in a life coach that teaches you how to do this, this, and this. No one's interested. I'm not interested. But if that life coach, I had a client actually who sold confectionery, and when he was a teenager at 16, he ran up credit card bills to the tune of £22,000, and his parents refused to pay them back. And he started a business in his bedroom selling sweets, and it now turns over £1 million, and he's stocked in Selfridges and all over the place. So I did get media coverage for his sweets because there's a whole different industry for product PR. But I sold the story of him as a sort of, I was a debt-ridden teenager and now I'm a millionaire boss. So do you see what I mean? I'm selling the story. I say to people sometimes, if you say I'm a money coach, no one's interested. But if you say I'm a money coach and I was 60 grand in debt, people are interested. So it's about bringing that human angle or that hook. What's the hook? What's the angle? What's the headline? That's what you've got to think about. I say to people, can you distill your story into a single sentence headline? Because that's what you need to do. And if you think that's really hard, there are headlines everywhere. Go online, look at the headlines in the newspapers, look at what they say, because those headlines are the hooks. And if you see any stories about a brand, look at the headline, because that is what the PR agency used to pitch that story. And then you'll get a flavour of how it's done, because it's a technique and you can learn it.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's one of the things that I always struggle with, because I think especially when you're too close to your story, you can't really see, like you said, everyone has a story to tell. And I think when we first met and talked, it's like, I've already have like 2 or 3 ideas of stories. Like, what? You don't actually see it as an interesting enough story, because it's just something you've lived through, or it's part of your life kind of thing.
It's that little thing that makes you a bit different. So what's that little thing as a photographer? I mean, you could say, I'm a photographer and for 20 years I refused to have my picture taken or whatever. I'm not saying that's you, but it's about that hook. My tinnitus expert, there's loads of tinnitus experts, But what made her different is she was a tinnitus expert that went on to develop tinnitus. So she knew exactly what her clients were going through. So it's that tiny little hook, that edge that lifts your story and makes you different from every other photographer. What's that one thing that makes your story different?
Yeah. In terms of, you talked about like when someone has a journal request, sometimes they mention their email address, in the comment of the tweet, or you DM them. But is there any other way to get details from a journalist, like contact details?
Well, the other way is to get a media database. That's where you get a database full of contact details. I think the cheapest one at the moment, there's something called Press Ranger, which I haven't looked into properly, but it's a new platform that offers press release sending, but it also offers a media database. I think it's about 70 quid a month. So you're going to have to pay, or you're going to have to Google the hell out of it, because you can find journalist contact details out on Google. Some of the newspapers actually have the journalist email address in the online newspaper. So you look at an article and it's written by Susan Smith. You click on Susan Smith and it will take you to her profile. And in many cases, they do include an email or a
Okay.
little sort of symbol that you can click on and you'll get through, and it'll put it into your mail. So yes, sometimes you can find them on the newspaper or magazine. Sometimes you can just Google it. Sometimes you might find it on an old journo request in X. So I would Google it first. If you want to find a contact detail, Google the hell out of it.
Yeah.
And if you can't find it, you can buy a media list off me.
In terms of when you pitch, how often should you chase or follow up if you haven't heard anything from them? Or
Well, do you know, I've got this rule I say 3 times. Now, I've got most of my friends are journalists, and they say to me, no, we don't like being followed up. If we're interested in your story, we'll use it. And I say, but you say this, and I get it, because as a journalist, I don't like being followed up either. But I've got results from following up. So I know it works. So journalists might not like it, but it works. Because I work for some agencies, and you send something out at 10 o'clock, and by lunchtime they want me to phone the journalist. That is not good. So I say to people, send your press release, your story, and follow up in 5 days. Don't follow up a journo request, because if you're not picked, you're not picked. That's it. It's like being picked for the netball team. You're either picked or you're not picked. And if you're not picked, you walk away. But if it's something that you've pitched yourself, follow up in 5 days. Follow up again a second time. And once you've contacted them 3 times, give up. Now, I broke my own rule recently, because I'd placed a client in the Times back in May, maybe it was April, but it was something that they wanted to run this month. So they said, yeah, we're really interested in this. Get back in touch with us whenever, in July, June, whenever it was. So I got back in touch with them in June, nothing. Again, nothing. And in the end, I had to send 6 emails. And I did that because I'd already had a yes. So I thought, I'm not letting a yes go. And also, the client had already celebrated the win. I thought, this has got to happen. So I did email the Times 6 times, and the piece is going in and it's happening. So that's the one occasion where I broke the rule, and I only broke it because I'd already had a yes. But normally I say 3 times and then walk away.
yeah,
Or 3 times, or you go, no one wants this story, what's wrong with it? And then you can completely change your story, and then you could go back.
okay. So give it a
Only if you,
different twist, or
yeah, but only if it's really quite different and there's something really new, like a great case study. But I say 3 times and walk away, because if they're not responding after 3 pokes, then they're not going to respond.
yeah, because I guess sometimes it's literally their inbox is really full and they have deadlines to hit, and sometimes you just things slip through the
2 seconds, you've got to get their attention.
yeah.
2 seconds. So for that reason, your email subject header has got to be good, because the emails are coming in hundreds. I've sat in cafes with journalists and just watched the emails come in, and I've watched them go delete, 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 delete.
So what would be a hook then? Like what is it you have to do to capture their attention?
The email subject header is a really tricky thing, because it needs to say what it is, what the story's about, but it also needs to be attention grabbing. No jokes, no puns. The best one I ever used was Diet Coke could kill me, which was, I was doing PR for a healthy brand of Diet Cola that didn't have aspartame in. And we'd found this disease condition that made aspartame poisonous, could give you brain damage. So I found this female rugby player for whom the conventional Diet Coke was really dangerous. So she was our brand ambassador for the new Coke without the aspartame in it. So I dressed her up in brand gear with a logo, and we got some pictures of her with a rugby ball. And I sent this story to the Daily Mail with Diet Coke could kill me. And I thought, that's such a bloody good subject header. They're going to be on the phone in a minute. Like 5 minutes past, phone rings. Hi, Daily Mail here. And I thought, yes. So a really good subject header will get results like that. They can't all be like that, because some stories just don't lend themselves to that kind of thing. So, for example, I'm sending a press release out at the moment. And let me just see what I've used as my headline. It's about a report into influencer marketing, and the report shows that there's racism. So influencers face racism, trolling, and gender pay gap, says a new report. So, it's not groundbreaking, but the journalist looking at that knows exactly what it's about. There's a report out and it's exposed this. I'm either interested or I'm not interested.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. So the header should already give them an idea of what story they can run.
Absolutely. Otherwise, you're just another... They'll just think you're another boring press release, because they're getting gazillions of boring press releases. They're so sick of the sight of them.
Yeah.
They're like, oh my God, another boring press release. So you really need to stand out as a person who is not sending a boring press release. Now, sometimes I had a client recently, and she was really nervous about reaching out to the media. And she did this course that I've got, which teaches you how to do the journo request. So I said, do this course and then you'll learn exactly what to do. She did the course and she followed what I said. And she emailed a national women's magazine, and within 5 minutes she'd got a response back from the editor. She wasn't in time, they'd pick someone else. But I said, this is a win. The fact that editor has got back to you and thanked you and said she's putting your name on file, she's not just saying that. She's got 2,000 emails coming. She hasn't got time to do that. That is a win. So once you start responding to journalists and pitching to them professionally, and they know that this person could be a good source of stories, then you start to build a connection and a relationship, because they really need stories. They don't want the rubbish press releases. They want people with genuinely good stories. So there are certain journalists that I email, and they will read my emails because they know it's me, and they know that I wouldn't be coming to them unless I had a good story. And you just need to start generating that kind of a reputation among the media.
Yeah, and we're obviously predominantly talking about print media, or online print, I guess what it's called now. But is there a different way of pitching if it's like TV or radio, or obviously PR is also podcasts? So are there different ways of pitching, and what platform is actually recommended?
It's the same, because you're still distilling that story into that single sentence. So I do pitch people for TV and radio. Obviously for radio, the photos aren't quite as important, because they don't use photos unless they've got an online site and they're going to plug the program. But it's exactly the same process. But you will be going for the producers and the planners or the journalists, because it's still the same process. People are looking for stories to put on the radio or TV program, so they're sifting through what's good, what isn't good. So it's the same process. It's the same thing. You're capturing their attention with that hook. It's called a hook. It's like fishing. If you just threw a line in and didn't have a hook, nothing's going to happen. But if you've got a hook, you're going to have a catch eventually, if it's a good hook.
And I guess when it's radio or TV, they're also looking out for, are you good on telling your story? Because print is easy. You can kind of craft the story, send it out, and they do the rest.
I mean, with clients, I tend to know whether they're going to be good on TV or not. I mean, Gladys Sander, the tinnitus expert, she's just amazing on camera. So, I knew that she was going to be amazing on TV, and she was. Some people aren't quite built for radio and TV, and I might say to them, "Are you sure? Are you sure about radio?" But it's the same process.
Yeah, and would you still say that the main thing is print and online media, or do certain things work better nowadays, or for certain businesses?
Things have changed. The influencer marketing and online and YouTube, it's massive now. Some, print has shrunk. I mean, online, the Daily Mail, I think, has 96 million unique monthly visitors a month. It's the most read platform in the UK. So if you're going to get on there, there's a lot of eyes on you. But you have to remember that some of these influencers have got millions of followers. So ambassadors and influencers and connecting with other businesses is also effective, because there are new ways of reaching audiences. Don't just think media, newspaper and magazines, because it's quite broad now, and there are bloggers. Some of the blogs have big readerships now. So it's just right, okay, who is my ideal customer and where are they? So that's what you need to do first. And think, well, what are they doing? What are they reading? What are they listening to? Who are they following? It's about building a picture of how to reach your ideal customer. So it's not just about press and magazines. I mean, I would look at podcasts, I would look at YouTubers, I would look at influencers, I would look at bloggers. It's quite broad.
Okay. And are you still doing mainly the print, or are you like doing everything as well, like all the others?
I do mainly the print because that's my specialism, but I do include bloggers now because I know that some of them got big audiences. And I mean, so my client Cold Square is an influencer marketing platform, so I've become involved in influencer marketing in spite of myself now. So I'm doing some work with an agency, and we are working with an influencer. So I am working with influencers. I tend not to. The influencer marketing is all very tricksy for small businesses. It's all right with the big brands. I'm doing it with big brands that got a lot of money, but I have worked with smaller brands and influencers can be a bit unreliable. If you send something to the Daily Mail, they're going to say thank you for this. We're going to put it in this time, and they will normally do what they say. I've had things where I've sent stuff to influencers that haven't got back to them. They haven't reviewed the product. It's like, oh my God. So it's quite, it can be a headache. I would always say to businesses, just think about building connections. You know, this journalist works for this publication. That's a good fit. This influencer's quite a good fit. Just think about your connections and who you want to be dealing with.
Would you pitch differently to a blogger or a podcaster than you would do to media?
No, because I'm trying to do the same thing. I'm trying to interest them in my story,
Yeah.
and they haven't got time to read like 15 pages of me, my purple prose. They want to know what's the story, and I'm able to say the story is this, and I can say it in a sentence. And then they go, oh, yeah, I'm quite interested. Then you can say, so that's what a pitch is. I always say to people, the most important information is at the top. So that single line is at the top, right at the top. And then you go, dear so and so. And then that interesting bit again is right at the top. Because I've noticed that even when I've sent a pitch to journalists and they've been interested and it's gone in the paper, they don't bother reading down. They start asking me questions, and I'm thinking, but that was in the press release that I pasted at the bottom of the email, and you haven't even bothered to read it. They literally are looking at the hook and go, I like this. They get excited and they email me back. So they're not even reading down. So I did a course, a product course recently, and one of my people, she was a great writer, but she was putting this important bit of information like 3 paragraphs down. And I said, she's not getting to that paragraph. She's not getting to paragraph 3 because she's not getting past 1. You haven't grabbed her. So if you're not grabbing her in the subject header and the first sentence, forget everything else. It's not going to be read.
Yeah.
I mean, that's harsh, but it's true. When you know this, you think you've got 2 seconds and make sure all the really important, exciting stuff is right at the top. And once you've got them, then they might read down or they might email you back and go, this is great. And then, I mean, this journalist literally emailed me back and started to ask me questions that were all in the press release. I didn't say, well, you could have just read it. I just answered the questions. But I just found they've got, their attention span is short, they're busy. I like that story. What is it? And they email me back. And that's how it works. That's the reality. Nobody is. I worked for a massive brand, and I'm not going to name the brand, but they had an office in America, and they liked the American office to do their press releases, even though I was a journalist in the UK office. And I remember getting this press release. It was like 4 pages long, and it took so long to read. It was so complicated, and it shouldn't have been. It wasn't a brand that needed the complicated messaging. And I remember reading this thing going, I can't concentrate. I can't get through the bloody thing. I said to my team leader, there's a bit of a problem here. This is so boring. I can't get through it. And I said, I've actually finally read it. And I don't know what it's about. If I don't know what it's about, how do we expect a journalist? And then we went back to the client would not budge. No, that's the one that's going out. So we sent this press release out. And I got this call from the Daily Mail, and I only got this call because I had befriended this journalist. Normally, she'd have just ignored me. And she said, you've just sent me a press release, and I'm really sorry, I don't know what it's about. And I went, oh, that's you and me both. I said, I think it might be this. So I explained it. And she went, well, why didn't they put that in the press release? I said, well, there you go. So, if you're sending something out that a journalist is having to struggle to understand, or they've got to concentrate too hard, forget it. It's that single sentence.
Yeah.
Because if you had 2 seconds, say you were really busy and I asked you to look at something, you had 2 seconds, you'd just scan it, wouldn't you? You wouldn't go, I'll just sit down with a cup of tea and read all of this.
Yeah. Especially nowadays, our attention span is just like shot
Yeah.
with all the scrolling and the TikToks and whatnot. Brilliant. I mean, you mentioned a coaching program you did recently, so that's a great segue into your work in progress.
Yes. Come and work with me. So I've got 2 programs that are starting. One starting in September, one is sort of autumn-ish. So I think, as I explained in the previous session we did, I absolutely love group coaching. It's brilliant. And I have got lots of, knowledge to share. And I think I do it in quite an easy to understand, accessible way. So I've done a few group coaching programs and just love them. And I've just finished one for product sellers, and it was a 4-week course. It was a beta course. I was just testing it out. And then they all loved it so much that most of them wanted more. So we did another 4 weeks. And then I've had to say, look, it's going to have to end now. We were all really up. We didn't want it to end. So it's just been brilliant. And everybody got at least a piece of media coverage. Everybody learned how to get their own coverage. I had one girl, starting off a little bit lacking confidence, and she sort of sends me texts like, oh God, that magazine you recommended, I've just sent them an email and they got back to me and they love my stuff. Oh, I've just emailed a famous comedian and she's going to use my products. I mean, she's literally flying because her confidence has increased. So I'm doing another one of those, a product PR group coaching program in September, and I'm very excited about it. And if you sell a product and you want to get it into the media, I'm going to say it is the course to do. Don't bother doing another one because mine is going to be brilliant. And I've also got a former buyer for John Lewis to come and do a session and explain how you get buyers, big retail buyers, interested in your product. So that's happening in September. I'm also going to do a mini mind because, like you said, you start with good intentions. You go on to X to look at journal requests and then you get a bit bored. So some people want accountability. So I'm going to start a mini mind, a group coaching program where every week we have a session. And when I say I'm going to be on your back, I'm not going to be on your back because I'm not like that. But I'm going to make you accountable. I'm going to encourage people. I'm going to say, look, this magazine's looking for this. Why don't you pitch to them? And you'll go, I don't know what to do. And I'll say, do it like this. So I want to bring a group of people together who are sort of doers, people that get things done, that want to generate their PR, but just need a bit of extra hand holding and a bit of extra accountability. So that's the mini mind. So those are my new things for autumn, which I'm very excited about because I love the group coaching.
Oh, that's lovely. And is the mini mind for product businesses or for everyone?
It's for everyone.
Okay.
Because the techniques, the techniques are the same for everyone. Although with product PR, there's this opportunity to get product on page. I don't know if you read newspapers and magazines, but they're all obsessed with shopping.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, you can buy this, there's this new thing, there's a new moisturizer. I fall for it and buy all the stuff. So that's a different thing because it's just a question of, here's a fantastic picture of my product. Here's a fantastic press release. It would look great in your column. Here it is, and here's a sample. So that's quite a different form of PR. But even when you're a product seller, you can still use your backstory and your story hooks to get coverage.
That's great. Is there anything that you're working on for yourself in your business?
Well, I'm trying to work on my social media plan to sell my group coaching programs at the moment. So that's what I'm working on at the moment, because I love my group coaching, I want people to love it too, and I want people need to know about it. I had 6 people last time, which is fantastic, but I want 30 next time. Let's see, because I just think there's an energy in a group, and that everyone can support each other. My last lot, they're on a WhatsApp group. They're all still in touch, And it's a great way to make those connections. And I still give them tips. I mean, they're not doing the course anymore, but I still feel like they're sort of my children and I want to help them. So I want it to be like a community. So yes, the selling of it is what I'm working on at the moment. And look, where are we now? It's 12:11. I haven't done my social media posts yet.
Me neither.
I've got a spreadsheet. I've completely ignored it. There you go.
But I think that's one of the things that I really love about, when we did the group coaching, which was like, was it February or something like that?
Yeah.
And I still sometimes get a random email from you saying, "Oh, I found this and I thought of you. Maybe you should pitch that." You're so looked after, and you feel that you love what you're doing, and you're doing it because you love helping people as well, kind of shining a light on them.
I want people to get media coverage. I want them to experience that buzz. I want them to experience that buzz and to know they can do it for themselves and they don't have to pay a PR agency 10, 20 grand a month. They've just spent 15 minutes a day and they've got these results worth thousands of pounds. I said to a client the other day, so they've got this piece coming in the Times. I'm trying to get them to get their pictures done. And I said, you do know that if you bought these column inches as an advert, it would cost you £40,000. That's how much it would cost. So when I say it's worth getting your great pictures in place or whatever, it really is worth it. So that 15 minutes a day is really worth it because you could get some column inches worth thousands.
Yeah, and especially when you mentioned earlier about the app that sends you the notifications for like 30 quid a month. If you put that in relation to paying 40 grand for a little ad.
I mean, even like little classified ads even when I was selling classified ads, which back in the dark ages when dinosaurs roamed the earth, they were expensive. Ads are really expensive.
Yeah. I love this chat. It was really nice and really informative. I hope it really helped some people that want to get more media coverage and kind of get into this. And obviously, I share your details in the show notes as well, so people can get in touch with you if they want some advice or join one of the group programs. But yeah, thank you for joining and for having this great chat.
Thank you.
And to everyone else, thank you for tuning in. And I speak to you next week. Thanks, Sally.